Welcome to the Sober Friends Podcast. My name is Matt J, and over there is Steve. If you've wondered whether life can really get better without alcohol, you're in the right place. Whether you're new to recovery, have some time sober, or you're supporting someone you love, we're glad that you're here. This is a podcast about sobriety, emotional growth, and learning how to navigate life without having to drink over it. What's going on with you, Steve?
Not much, Matt. It's a good day to be here. Yeah, navigating life.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's
going to be tough navigating the next couple of days up here in the Northeast.
Yeah, in the Northeast, it's going to be over 100 degrees.
It's going to bake.
My favorite temperature, over 100 degrees. Not at all.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah, well, it's going to be ugly.
You can crack open a cold one as long as it is like a Waterloo, like I have here. There's no booze in there. There's plenty to drink that isn't going to get you all messed up. Well, I want to ask this question: what's the picture that comes to mind when you first heard the word alcoholic, Steve? What was that, and did it look anything like you?
Oh, absolutely not. Did not look like me. Let me see. I grew up in an alcoholic home, so I sort of knew what an alcoholic was, or at least I had a vision of it. But I guess I shouldn't say that. The first time I remember hearing it, now that I think about it, I was much younger than that. Mm-hmm. And it was before I knew my mom struggled with addiction. And I can remember I grew up in the projects, and I can remember, like, at that time there was lots of drugs and alcohol around. Not for me. I was a bit young until right just before we left the projects. But I can remember all my brothers, people, and other people in the projects having troubles with drugs and alcohol. Mm-hmm. And it looked to be like a really low bottom, like problematic, today, not what I understand today, right? I mean, doctors, lawyers, everybody, right? Today I understand what it looks like. But back then it was like, yeah, I mean, I can remember. I remember vividly. I don't know. I must have been 10, 11 years old. That there's some abandoned apartments in our complex, and this one guy was sort of holed up. I'm sure he was a drug user, and he was holed up in this abandoned. It was big news, right? Everybody standing around. The cops were there. It was like, that's what I thought an alcoholic and addict were, like that type of person. Oh yeah, you're going to be holed up in some empty apartment. The cops are going to be around, that kind of thing. So that was my first thought of what it looked like. And like I said, and then as I got older, I got into my middle teens, I started realizing that my mom had a problem, and I certainly was able to see what it looked like for her. So it changed a little bit for me.
It was my father I thought of. I think was my first idea of what an alcoholic was. He was an evil guy. He never got sober. He beat my mom. I know that I suffered some type of PTSD because of him, just for the fact that he hung swords on the wall. They fell on me as a toddler, broke my head open, and he didn't want to take me to get treated because he wasn't done with the lawn yet. I still have the scar.
Yeah.
I think about that, and I'm like, well, that might be the PTSD trigger, or one of them. And so I never wanted to end up like him. And as long as I wasn't beating my wife, drinking a jug of Gallo a night, and just was a general malcontent through life, I guess I would be fine. And I don't think that that's the picture. When you mention this guy holed up in that building, I think about a very early meeting I went to when I got sober pretty early on. And I went to 10th Leopard meeting in East Hartford. And one of the homeless guys came in, and this guy was filthy. He was the textbook definition of what you think of with an alcoholic, right, to the point of we hold hands at the end. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to hold this guy's hand. He's filthy. I'm a little bit more empathetic now, but if you look at this guy, this is what, if you don't know alcoholism, you think that's alcoholic. And if I'm not like that, maybe I don't have a problem. I'm reminded on story night that we had at our Monday night meeting that we read the story of Marty Mann, and what struck me just wasn't her story, but was how her story changed. So Marty Mann is an early pioneer of Alcoholics Anonymous. Her story is Women Suffer Too. Page 200 to 208, very short, but she was sponsored directly by Bill W. She's the first woman to get sober long term. And early on, like 1938, 1939, time of the big book, not a friendly time for women alcoholics, not a friendly time for women in the rooms, especially out in Akron, where they didn't take kindly to the women coming in and mixing with the men. She had long-term sobriety. She founded High Watch, which is a recovery center not too far from where we live. And she had advocacy for understanding alcoholism as a disease to reduce stigma. So she later on became kind of a scholar, wrote books, but she really, if Dr. Silkworth first, but I would say Marty Mann too, really are responsible for the idea that alcoholism isn't a moral failing. It is a disease. And I'd say that's her greatest contribution may not have been of what she accomplished, but changing who we believed recovery was meant for. And I think that really is the thing that connected with me. You don't have to be a fall down drunk in the gutter, absolutely filthy. You can be a CEO. You can drive a sports car. As a matter of fact, in many ways, I think the person who has a lot of success, at least what the outside looks is for success, could be the someone more in pain, because they think if they haven't lost everything, they don't have a problem. They don't have to stop. And I think that can be a real dangerous place.
Yeah, I think, again, like you said, it's different. We've been around the rooms long enough to meet enough people to know that this disease takes no prisoners, no matter based upon gender, sexual identity, anything, economic, social status, doesn't matter. And we just you sit right in the rooms, right? And, you sit next to people, doctors like MDs and PhDs galore. I know several in the room, right? It's just no little bound, and women and whatever. So today nothing surprises me, right? This is the other thing too. Like, nothing surprises me when it comes to addiction and alcoholism. It saddens me. Mm-hmm. And I'm going through something right now with someone who, has reached out for help and just admittedly just says, I guess I'm just not ready to stop. And like, I get it. I do. Like, I totally understand that. There's a lot of people who say, you couldn't have got me in these rooms with a gun 24 hours before I came into these rooms, right? Like, mm-hmm. They came in when they were ready is the point they're making.
And not a moment too soon.
Yeah, right. And
so... Not a moment sooner is what I'm trying to say.
Right. Yep. And somebody said it... Was it my Friday night meeting? Yeah, I think it was. I had to do every single thing I had to do to get here, right? Including the bad... The whole point was including all the mistakes, including all the times where I should have come in. Like, I had to do all of those things before I got here. So, and that's the way you can look at that and not feel like, oh, I should have gotten here earlier, right? Which is something I suffered from for a while, because I was 52 years old when I got here and really got this program. I didn't get it at 52, but that's when I started to really work this program at 52. And I look back at it and I think, oh, well, now that I could see, right, it's Monday morning quarterback, right? So, oh, no, if I had done this 20 years ago, boy, my life would have been great. But it doesn't work that way. And I don't live in that life. So, so today I can look at this and again, nothing surprises me. So an alcoholic is somebody who says that they're struggling with drinking, right? I mean, we talk about it all the time on this podcast. It's not about volume. It's not like you don't need to drink a whole bunch of alcohol and fall down drunk, which is what I was, to be an alcoholic. You just need to have a problem where it's becoming a problem in your life, and that you need to deal with that. So there's lots of different, and that's the beauty of our program, right? The beauty of our program is that you can, there's a whole spectrum of when you can come into these rooms. And I can remember coming in and judging people when they came in and they started sharing their story. And I'm like, oh, that's nothing. That's not what are you here for, right? Like, oh man, this is like you barely felt the nip of the fire. But good for them, right? Good for them. Today, I'm like, good for them. So, yeah, an alcoholic looks like whatever they want to look like. I mean, we always say, like, you're an alcoholic if you say you're an alcoholic, right? That's it.
Yes.
If you say you're an alcoholic. That's why we assign our own sobriety dates, right? Nobody assigns a sobriety date for us. I mean, obviously that does happen for some people. Some people literally can't remember whatever it was, and they literally have to. But I mean, for the most part, we tell people what our sobriety date is. Nobody's, so it's, we're the ones who come in and said, hey, listen, I'm an alcoholic. So, just look around you. Like, if you're wondering what an alcoholic looks like, look around you. Because there's one in that field of vision. They're there, and they're not easy to spot unless you really know what you're looking for.
And there's a lot more out there. It's funny that when you run into people who are in recovery, there's a lot more of us out there than you might think. And there's a lot more who deserve to be here. You mentioned something about not comparing. You mentioned a little bit Monday about your little bit of a mental meltdown you had around the house. I have had my own issues. I think I've shared quite a bit. I'm tapering off of an anti-anxiety drug that I have been on for over 10 years because I have been terrified of the tapering process, not because I think it's the best medication for me. I'm not saying I don't belong on some type of medication. I just think the right medication is not this. But you got to get off of one to get onto something else. And I have reached the end, and this has been so grueling. Your problem and my problem are very different, but our capacity for it is the same. So just because one person is suffering with one thing and you think, that's nothing. Anybody can say to your problem, that's nothing. Everybody has it. You're always going to find somebody who has it a little bit worse or a little bit better. But that doesn't matter if it is the worst problem to you at that moment. I'm not ever going to minimize somebody's problem or compare it to somebody else. If what I consider is not that big of a deal, but it is to you, then it's a big deal. It's all like we all have capacity for the bullshit. And sometimes we reach that capacity at a very high level. And sometimes the ceiling for that is pretty damn low. And I think the same is true of determining that time that you want to stop drinking. There are some people who come in early, and you can come in early. You don't have to wait until you're rolling around in the gutter. You can come in before you have lost it all and get ahead of it. It doesn't mean, and it doesn't mean you have any less of a problem. To me, it's if I can enjoy it, can I control it? If I can control it, can I enjoy it? If the answer to those things are no, then I probably have found my seat.
Absolutely.
What were comparisons that kept you from realizing your own alcoholism?
For me, it was simple, right? I've talked about it before. I had a brother who was, so I had my mom, and I was struggling with alcohol long before I admitted it. part of that was because I wasn't drinking and passing out every night. Towards the end, I did, right? Towards the end, I did. But long before, I could have come into the rooms. Although you couldn't have got me. I shouldn't say that because there was no way you would have got me in these rooms. Just like I said, you would have never got me in these rooms because I just didn't identify as an alcoholic, even though I drank problematically. And then the second part was, the other part is that my whole family, and I mean it, my whole family, 6 kids, we all drank and partied, all of us. So we were all doing it. It wasn't it wasn't like we had one straight and narrow, sibling who we could hold up as a model. We didn't have anyone. My dad drank, my mom drank, we all drank and drugged. My mom and dad didn't drug, but the rest of us did. And then I had a brother who also had some very, later we realized had some mental health issues, but became a really big crackhead. And early on, I can remember watching my brother at a party. He calls me over. He was only 2 years older than me, and somebody is shooting him up like he's taking drugs intravenously, which scared the crap out of me. I never did that because I was petrified. But I watched him, and he didn't do it. Somebody else did it for him. And so that I looked at that, right? And he was in and out of rehabs long before I came into the program. So I was like, oh, I'm not him. I'm not that. So yeah, I drink too much. Yeah, I've had car accidents. Yeah, I've smashed total cars. Yeah, that's just part of the deal, right? I mean, like I knew half a dozen people who did those things. Because that's also who I hung out with, right? I just want to go back to something you said about our problems, right? And here's the thing about our problems. I had a series of problems. I had a series of events, and this is just yesterday. It was it was one of these days. A series of small events, one after another. Like everywhere I turned, it seemed like there was a roadblock to me making progress of stuff I wanted to make progress with. So, and there was some other thing. It actually started, and I won't get into it, but it started Sunday after I got home from a hike and all that kind of stuff. So there was a little bit of leftover stuff from Sunday night, and I woke up Monday, and I was trying to get some projects done, and I just kept hitting roadblocks, and it's not the problems, it's what happens to me and how I'm feeling with those problems. Just like you said, the capacity to handle them. And I said, and I was on the verge of a meltdown. I didn't have a meltdown, but I was on the verge of a meltdown. And I'll tell this little piece. Like my wife, we have a garden, we have a pool, and there's a little garden next to it, which is my wife's garden, who she can't take care of anymore. So I try to do the best I can, but I'm not a gardener. And there's a little decorative pink bike in there. It's really cute. And I was trying to power wash some of the fencing around it, and I knocked over this bike once, and it pissed me off because the bike was in the way. Now all I had to do is take the bike out of the garden. It's easy to pick it up and move it out of the garden, right? It's easy. But I put it back up, and I knocked it over a second time, and I said this, I had a big urge to jump on the bike and just bend the crap out of it and turn it into scrap metal. That's what I'm talking about. So it doesn't matter what my problems was like. That's where I was emotionally, right? I didn't do that, which is real good progress for me. I mean it. Like, that's a win for me. And here's what I forgot to share last night. But I went through all that, and I had to take a trip up to Lowe's, and there was some traffic problems going to Lowe's and all that. And here's what I didn't share, and I missed it. Sometimes you just miss it. After all that stuff, here's the miracle of the program. Is I'm in Lowe's, and all of a sudden my phone rings, and it's another alcoholic. And it's Jeff who comes to our Monday night meeting. And Jeff is calling. Jeff's one of my sponsees, and he's calling just to check in. And we laugh. And he goes, surprised it's me? I'm like, no, you call me once in a while. And I was able to literally sit on a box in the middle of in the middle of Lowe's. Right in the main aisle. When you walk into the main aisle, they have all the cleaning stuff. There was like a box. I don't know what the box I was in, and have a 20-minute conversation with another alcoholic. Right? That's the miracle of this program. Is that 20-minute conversation helped me out so much, And I was able to vent with him. I told him my whole story, right? Like I was able to tell him what was going on with me. Like this, my ass is getting kicked today. And, that's the way the program works. I got a phone call when I needed a phone call. And that's just the other thing. If you're out there, if you're part of this program, if you're part of AA, and, we talk about the phone being difficult, we always think, oh, we're going to interrupt somebody. That phone call meant everything to me yesterday. He was calling me. I wasn't calling him, right? And that's the whole thing. He was calling me. I wasn't reaching out. So the program is beautiful in that way. So, back to, what alcoholics look like. There was a lot of people I knew around me. Before I got really bad, I watched a lot. And that was the other thing. I watched a lot of people get heavy into drugs, have a lot of problems, like a lot of friends, a lot of young, friends growing up with, started really having, especially, and you talked about some of the people who have some, maybe some better means. This was it. Like, I grew up in the projects, but we were surrounded by single family homes, and a lot of my friends were, lived in the single family homes. And those guys had a little bit of money, not a lot of money, because they weren't wealthy. This wasn't a wealthy neighborhood, but they all got into drugs, pills, right? Stuff like that. Long before I did, because I couldn't afford that stuff. Mm-hmm. I could afford alcohol and I could afford some pot. And then when I realized, like, oh, wait, I could sell a little pot, and then I wasn't even selling to make money. I was just selling pot so I could get my pot cheaper for free. That was it for me. A little bit of pills here and there. But these other guys, they ran into troubles. And I remember looking at some of these guys like, man, that's not me, right? Again, comparing. That's not me. I'm not all strung out on pills. And that kept me from really understanding my own problem for a long time. And which is why it took me to 52 to get in here,
I don't think there's much of a difference between somebody who's shooting up heroin and somebody who is taking more pain medication than they're supposed to be or is addicted. It's the same thing. It's the delivery method is different. Matter of fact, the pill might be worse because you're telling yourself a different lie. That if it's a pill, it's okay. I don't have a problem. It's not like I'm sticking a needle in my arm.
Right.
When they're the same.
They absolutely they are. I mean, today I know, like, the addiction doesn't matter, right?
No.
I mean, like you said, the delivery method doesn't matter. And even to me today, it's not even the delivery method. The addiction doesn't matter. Like, I'm not a gambling addict, but I understand addiction to understand that you could become a gambling addict, right? So I'm not a cocaine addict, but I understand enough that you could go to Cocaine Anonymous because you were, and it's the same thing. And I know plenty of guys who came in. I've worked with guys, I've helped guys who were, who were pill users, oxy guys and stuff like that. No difference. I mean, a little bit of difference of how it affects you and how hard it is to get off some of these drugs versus alcohol. Mm-hmm. But everything else is the same, right? The addiction, the triggers, it's the first pill, the first drink, whatever you might want to call it, right? It's still abstinence. You have to stay away from that first initial dose of whatever your drug is, or again, whether maybe it's a if it's a bet, whatever it might be. It's that first thing that gets you going again, and we all just have to stay away from that.
There are some people who can drink or even do cocaine or even gamble, and it's not a problem for them. I think the disease for us is we do those things because it takes us out of how we're feeling. It becomes the solution to the problem. It becomes the medication to that problem. It's the wrong type of medication, but is the thing that scratches the itch that makes us feel better in the moment without something healthier to get past that. And I think that's where we get to the disease model. To me, the disease model doesn't remove responsibility, but it removes shame so people can finally seek help. you do have a responsibility not to do bad things when you're using. If you know you have a problem, you have a responsibility to stop using. Mm-hmm. But you also should not look at yourself and say, I'm a weak person, I'm a bad person because I can't get off of this.
Right.
You can't get off of this because there is something medically wrong with you. Much like if you rip your Achilles tendon, you need to have a medical solution to that problem. For me, getting off of the antidepressant that I'm on, I need medical supervision to do that. And I need to raise my hand when I'm saying this right now is causing an incredible panic attack, to say it's not working, to find another solution. These are all the same. And I think that shame can have stigma, and the stigma can keep people out there a lot longer than they need to. And we lose lives because of it.
Oh, we do. We lose lives every day because of that. Every day. Especially for the low bottom drug users, right? And I get it, right? I mean, it's such a defeating, it's really, really hard. I mean, that's why I have a lot of compassion and empathy for people who struggle. I really do. Like I said, I just I'm trying to help as much as I can. Not a sponsor, not anything like that, but just somebody that this person could talk to, and it's just it's sad. It's sad to watch people struggle, but it's just such a difficult disease. And it's why I'm so happy that I'm somewhat free of it. And I mean, I say somewhat because I know that I'm not immune to ever drinking again. I have a program that keeps me from, even on shitty days like yesterday, from really thinking that I should drink. As bad as everything was like yesterday, I mean, I never considered like I should have a drink. Never thought like, oh, I know what'll fix this. Mm-hmm. Bottle of tequila. No, I never thought that. But that's only because I've done a lot of work. And I'm honest, and I know that a bottle of tequila is not. First of all, I'm honest to know that I can't say I'm just going to have a couple shots to ease the pain. Like I understand that's a lie. I mean, I'm not going to lie to myself anymore, and I'm also not going to lie and say that somehow, me getting wasted is going to help anything. And but again, that doesn't mean I'm immune to that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. It just means that I have some. I have a reprieve, as they say in the big book, based upon my spiritual condition. And luckily, my spiritual condition was good enough yesterday to not only not have me pick up a drink, but also not act out in frustration. And I was able to actually talk to my wife about how frustrated I was. Like,
that's good.
Instead of being like coming in and taking it out on her, which is basically how I handled it many times in the past, I was able to come out and say, honey, today is just kicking my ass. And I, tell her. And my wife's really good. Like she can feel it. She's, she knows it. And she knows I do a lot of work. And so, and it also puts her, it lets her know, like, today's not the day to poke Steve, So it's not a day to, and trust me, like some days she misses that sign and she will poke me and they get ugly because that's just life. But yesterday was a good day. Like I said, it was a shitty day that turned out okay because number one, I got a call from another alcoholic. I had a great conversation. Number two, I went to a meeting, right? I went to my meeting, and then the biggest thing is I didn't take a lot of alcoholic type actions, even though I was frustrated, even though my day wasn't going well. So that's a win in my column. That's a win every day. The story helped me. Yeah, it's a win every day for me. So so if you're out there listening to this, find those wins. Find those wins on shitty. This is my point, I guess. Yes. I'm trying to make. Find the wins on shitty days, right? So that you can feel good about a shitty day. You can be done and go, yeah, it was a bad day, but man, look at the good stuff. I guess I always say I don't make gratitude lists, right? But I guess in honesty, I do. I just don't write them down, right? Because I do look at a day like yesterday and was able to say, look at the good things that happened, right? And today I got up and I had a better day and I got all the things done. There were some roadblocks of getting some projects done. I got those projects done and a little bit more. I had a good day, and I want to get some stuff done because it's going to be really, really hot, which is going to limit to me. I like doing stuff. I like doing my projects. I like being outside, and the next few days it's going to be like I can be outside in the morning. I could probably be outside till 11. I might be able to push it depending on what I'm doing to sort of noon, but that's it. Then I'm in. Lucky for me, I'm a World Cup fan, and they got lots of World Cup on these days. So, being that I don't have to work, I came in today and was able to sit down, have to take a shower, and watch a World Cup game at 1:00 in the afternoon, and just sit back and not worry about anything.
Having the ability to do that and being able to was such a win. Yeah. I think in my own situation, I talked to my wife, I'm like, as much pain as I'm in right now with this crippling anxiety, I bet I'm handling this better than most. Mm-hmm. That the fact that I'm just dealing with it, not drinking, not gorging myself with chocolate, not killing people, and not crawling into a ball is a victory, and I have to be good with it. It doesn't seem like a huge victory of just existing, but sometimes just existing and getting through the day is a huge victory. Right. It's okay to celebrate that. It's not forever. And, be okay with you got through it. Yeah.
That's it. Be okay with it. I actually say celebrate it. I mean, that it really, if you're having, especially if you're new in recovery, and you get through a really, really tough day that you felt like drinking or you felt like acting out, even if you did act out to a certain extent, and you didn't pick up a drink, put it in the win column, baby. I mean it. Put it in the win column. Mm-hmm. Find that silver lining. Say, listen, I said the way I shared last night, like today would have been a drinking day for me. Like if I had, first of all, yeah, I said I would be, our meeting starts at 7:30. Like I would have been wasted at 7:30. Mm-hmm. After a day like yesterday, if I was drinking, I would have been wasted. I would have drank until I passed out last night, and I would have woke up hungover today, and I would have been useless, and I would have been miserable because I wouldn't be able to get my stuff done because I wasn't feeling good. Like that's the win. That's what I celebrate. I don't need to do that anymore. And listen, I'll be forever grateful of this program and for the fellowship. And like I said, we read these stories, we get a chance to go around and share. It's a beautiful thing to be sober.
Mm-hmm. If you've spent years trying to prove you're not the type of person who could have a drinking problem, maybe you're asking the wrong question. So instead of asking, am I alcoholic enough? Why not ask, has alcohol become something I can't reliably manage on my own? And if that question is no, it's okay. The door's wide open, the water's warm, and there are a lot of people who want to support you because it will make us feel a lot better about ourselves. All right, Steve, thanks for helping me work this one out tonight.
You're welcome, Matt.
See everybody next week. Bye, everybody.